The young girl's magical power reached the brink of collapse for the first time. Her out-of-control magic continuously drained her life force, watching her most beloved brother fall into danger. This was also her first time demonstrating her true power in front of everyone. No one had anticipated that the 12th princess, who was usually pampered, harbored magical power 1,000 times stronger than theirs. It turned out that within the girl's tiny frame resided a sorceress who had lived for over 1,000 years. Elena possessed magical power that could destroy an entire country with a wave of her hand. Yet, she was stabbed by the man she loved most deeply. All those promises made beneath mountains and seas, and her wholehearted devotion, were ultimately exchanged for cold betrayal. Fortunately, her powerful soul core preserved her life essence. She thought she would wait for years to be reborn. But unexpectedly, her soul accidentally transmigrated into an infant's body. What surprised her even more was that this body's dormant magical power reached a 5-star level. She knew that even before becoming a sorceress. At this age, she was only at a 2-star level. In other words, this child was a genius. It seemed she would not only quickly surpass her former self, but revenge would also be effortless. She might even be able to dominate the entire continent. But she was still too young right now. Not only did she need handmaidens to change her diapers, she couldn't even speak yet. Looking at the grand palace, she must be at least a princess of some country. And the appearance of this man quickly gave her the answer. Lin respectfully bowed, greeting His Majesty the Emperor. Elena's gaze followed the man's direction. But why did his face seem so familiar? The pressure emanating from him surprised Elena. Apart from that troublesome dragon in the north with whom she had a poor relationship, she had never felt such oppression from anyone. But the next moment, the man suddenly reached out and gripped Elena's head. The powerful magic felt like being hit with a sledgehammer, making the child wail in pain. She bit down hard on the back of the man's hand. "You big meanie." But since she hadn't grown teeth yet, the man thought she was just spitting at him. "Damn it, when I grow up I'll beat you to death." Lin hurriedly pleaded with His Majesty, saying the princess was still young. But the man paid no mind. Instead, finding this child quite interesting. "It seems she can choose a sword early. Leona, that shall be her name. I want to see if she will become a lion's fang, or just another worthless failure like the rest." The meaning of choosing a sword indicated that from tomorrow, she would be officially drawn into the succession struggle. A bad premonition rose in her heart. In this world there was only one empire with such succession struggles. And the man she had just met. Could she have reincarnated as her archenemy's daughter? That's too absurd. Isn't this disastrous? The emperor of the Haxus Empire, possessing pure dragon bloodline. He was also this world's transcendent being. Many years ago, a human trading caravan tried to cross her mountains without permission. To defend her territory, Elena had mercilessly obliterated that caravan. Who knew that the caravan belonged to the imperial family, and they were transporting a national treasure? Afterward, this man had hunted her down like a madman. If she hadn't abandoned a sorceress's dignity and escaped like a rat, she would have been beaten into submission. And now she had reincarnated as his daughter. If he discovered that this body's owner was actually her, the consequences would be unimaginable. Although she had considered abandoning this body, a 5-star dormant magical power was too precious to give up. Only the strong survive. This saying permeated the entire Haxus Empire. Legend had it that the previous emperor had exactly 100 children. And this madman had personally eliminated his other 99 siblings, because only those who survived the struggles could become heirs to the imperial family. So she too must follow the survival of the fittest rule here, constantly fighting and advancing within this family. And for a powerful sorceress like her, this would be a good opportunity to showcase her abilities. Thus, born as the empire's 12th princess, she was officially drawn into the succession struggle. According to custom, she should have been able to live safely in the Dandelion Palace until the age of 5. But this madman had prematurely drawn her, a child who couldn't even crawl, into the conflict. Time quickly moved to the next day. Looking at the hall already crowded with people, she had to work hard, using this remarkable body to become the emperor, then crush the kingdom ruled by that scumbag Lacus, then achieve her small goal of dominating the continent. The meaning of choosing a sword wasn't actually selecting a physical sword, but rather, as a member of the royal family, choosing a willing subordinate. However, with memories of her previous life, Leona immediately identified who she wanted. The continent's strongest spirit medium case, who could continuously summon the dead on the battlefield. It was said that she once killed 20 flying dragons with her power alone, and turned them all into undead, then used them to destroy the kingdom of Jack, which had attempted to assassinate her in a single night. Although she had always wanted to spar with her, unfortunately, Case had never visited her mountains. She never expected to meet under these circumstances. Although she didn't know how Case had fallen to her current state, it was certainly a good thing. But the more the child tried to approach her, the more that socially anxious person retreated. Who knew that after finally grasping her tiny hand, the child would cry out in pain? I'm only 1 year old, couldn't you be gentler, you jerk? Fortunately, the attentive Lin noticed Leona's discomfort. My lady, the princess seems to be in pain. Hearing this, Case looked around silently, finally resting her gaze on a nearby healer. She grabbed the man's collar and dragged him over. Meanwhile, question marks appeared above the other's head, but the man seemed even more embarrassed than her. This person is always silent and reserved. She probably grabbed me to help examine the princess. Although her face showed reluctance, she couldn't refuse since she was still a child. However, as soon as Beller grasped Leona's small hand, he was too shocked to speak. We must summon the priest immediately. The princess's spiritual energy is running wild inside her body. If not treated promptly, it could threaten her life. The person in question was still confused. Although she didn't feel anything wrong, Lin was already anxiously pacing around. I knew something was wrong when the princess kept sweating and her shoulders were trembling. That was just because I was excited about becoming emperor soon, that's all. But of course they couldn't read Leona's thoughts, so they quickly summoned the priest. Only after seeing the child fall into a deep sleep did Case finally sigh with relief. Looking at the adorable little princess, Case couldn't resist poking Leona's cheek. Just like a little rabbit. Although she's still weak now, she'll eventually become strong. Until that day comes, I'll protect you well. Ever since the magical power outburst incident, Lin had stayed close by her side. She wanted to tell Lin not to worry so much, because now she had the powerful Case by her side. But this person always kept her distance. How strange. Whenever their eyes met, she would blush and move away. Was her smile that frightening? Fortunately, Lin would always patiently come to comfort her. But how could a sorceress play with such things? Seeing Leona rolling around on the bed, Lin hurriedly went to find other toys, until she found a tattered rabbit doll, which finally caught Leona's attention. She immediately recognized this rabbit was no ordinary toy. Though she didn't know why, it emanated a strong, dark spiritual energy. And whenever she hugged it, the spiritual energy would flow into her body. Although she already had 5-star level spiritual energy, who would refuse to become even stronger? Since she had entered the succession struggle, Leona also had to move to a designated palace, the Black Rose Palace. It was said to be a long-abandoned palace, with rumors that ghosts of deceased royals often appeared there. Case angrily exclaimed how they could make a 1-year-old princess live in such a place. She insisted on requesting the emperor to change the residence. But Lin strongly objected. It turned out this was all according to the late princess's wishes. Although she didn't understand the reason, this was indeed the princess's arrangement. Their argument soon woke the sleeping Leona. But as soon as she opened her eyes, she was surprised to discover that the same dark spiritual energy from her rabbit doll covered the entire palace. Leona gestured excitedly, wanting to quickly go inside and see. She wanted to find out what was hidden in this abandoned palace that no one visited. But what struck her as strange was that despite the spiritual energy she could feel, Case showed no reaction whatsoever. Logically, Case should be several times stronger than her current self. Suddenly, a gust of wind mixed with magical power swept through. A child with golden hair and red eyes appeared in everyone's view, cursing and muttering. Even without any perceptiveness, one could tell this boy meant no good. Leona bared her teeth and babbled. But the boy didn't understand a word, tilting his head as he carefully observed the infant before him, with silver hair, holding a tattered rabbit doll. Just a few days ago, he had accidentally overheard a conversation between his father and the advisor about letting the young 12th princess participate in the sword selection. Harriet didn't understand. She's so adorable, Your Majesty. Do you really have the heart to let her be drawn into this war? What was so special about this 1-year-old 12th princess that made both Harriet and his father so concerned? He wanted to see for himself. And if she was just an ordinary person, he would eliminate her personally. This was Nikar's intention before coming here. But when he actually saw the angry little ball of fluff before him, his face turned bright red, feeling his heart melt with cuteness. Case placed herself protectively in front of Leona. May I ask what brings your highness here? Case's figure completely blocked Nikar's view. Do I need a reason to come? I don't have anything specific, the boy said with an annoyed expression. Case remained unmoved, regardless of the other's status. She had to ensure the princess's safety. But the boy's gaze suddenly fell on the tattered rabbit doll. Even if the princess is young, you shouldn't give her such worn-out trash. Thinking that if he later gave her an expensive, high-quality toy, then wouldn't. His lips unconsciously curled into a smile. However, Lin's answer quickly shattered someone's fantasy. This doll is a gift left by the late princess for the young princess. But she's not even a year old. Such an adorable little dumpling, even her background is so pitiful. Nikar ran over with quick, small steps, soon arriving in front of Leona's face. A warm, magical aura immediately enveloped Leona's body. This is the sun god's blessing. Consider it my first gift to you. Are all babies this cute? But he wasn't cute at all when he was little. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Now Leona could finally use her body skillfully and communicate normally with others. The days of being unable to speak were finally over. She received praise from Lin first thing after waking up, but there was no need to explicitly mention such obvious things. After all, her crazy father's looks were quite impressive, and she looked almost identical to him. Of course, compared to her sorceress days, it was nothing to boast about. During these 3 years, Lin had remained as gentle as ever. Could she trust her? The answer was no. The betrayals of the past were still vivid in her memory. Humans had caused her too much pain. The reason she smiled at Lin every day was only because she was still a weak 3-year-old child. Since her birth, she had never seen that crazy father again. In 3 years, he should have become even stronger. Leona's ultimate goal was to become the emperor of this empire, which meant she would have to kill all the princes and princesses, even the emperor. But could she really defeat him? Living in the imperial palace was fraught with danger, with the risk of assassination at any moment. Like right now, the assassin in the tree, unable to break through Case's barrier, could only wait by the window for an opportunity. What should she do? Leona tottered toward the balcony. Excuse me, are you skilled? The assassin never expected that his target would actively approach him. Of course I'm skilled, but the next moment, Leona raised her hand, and potent ice magic froze the man's lower body. Though her magical power was still far from enough, using 3rd-level magic on such a low-level assassin was a bit excessive, but it felt good. After dealing with the annoying assassin, Leona planned to enjoy a nice afternoon nap. She shouldn't be so lazy, but since Case followed her everywhere, she had no opportunity to practice her spiritual energy. If news of her magical abilities spread, it would certainly attract more assassins. So until she had enough power to claim the imperial throne for herself, until then, she would conceal her true strength. But just as she was about to enter Dreamland, Nikar suddenly came to visit. He never gave her a moment's peace. Seeing Leona's irritated expression, Nikar looked so dejected he might cry. Over the past 3 years, he had visited Leona almost daily. She sighed helplessly. At the age when you should be fighting for succession rights, you come to see me every day. It's so annoying. What's this? Where did you learn such an adorable expression? Saying this, he reached out to pinch Leona's cheeks. There was no help for it. Who told her she was still just a 3-year-old child, but a tiger that doesn't show its might? Did you really think my little face was dough you could pinch as you please? She slapped away Nikar's hand from her face. What do you really want? Coming and going as you please, with no real purpose. Looking at Leona's babbling, he felt like the one who had done something wrong, and Nikar retreated a few steps uncertainly. Of course it's because I like you. Like? A very long time ago. She had been just an ordinary child in the slums, not knowing who her parents were, or where she should go. Then one day, an alchemist named Chen approached her. Not only did he give her good food, but he also said many heartwarming things to her. Unfortunately, she was only 5 years old then, and didn't understand that kindness without asking for return should be viewed with caution. Living with Chen every day, she felt that her always empty heart seemed to be filled with something. This feeling was warm and peaceful. Chen told her this feeling was called liking. Alina foolishly believed his so-called liking, so she followed the man to his tower, not knowing what awaited her. The tower imprisoned countless orphaned girls like her. All of them were his experimental subjects. The man was obsessed with injecting magical beast power into humans, creating weapons capable of destroying everything. Countless children died at his hands, but he still wouldn't give up. Alina didn't understand human treachery then. She was gradually brainwashed by him to help him achieve his goals. Even when beast blood was injected into her body, even when she was consumed by magic realm energy, she persevered again and again. But in the end, the experiment still failed. She naturally became trash that the man could discard at any time. So everything was fake? The memories afterward were like a fracture. When she opened her eyes again, the tower had completely collapsed and everyone inside was gone. It was then she realized that the man's experiment seemed to have succeeded on her, because Chen had once told her that if the experiment succeeded, she would become the world's only sorceress. But what was the use of that? The liking humans spoke of was all false. There was no one in this world who truly liked her. So even if you say you will always stay by my side, even if you say you won't let anyone hurt me, even if you say you love me, I will never believe you humans again. The two competing for the child's affection. But before Leona could react, an unusual air current caught everyone's attention. Case and Nikar immediately assumed defensive postures. Then with a thud, an assassin fell to the ground. They both turned toward Leona behind them, only relaxing after confirming she was safe. This made Leona feel a bit uncomfortable, as no one had ever protected her like this before. But the feeling was quite nice. Then Case went to check on the assassin, only to discover that lying on the ground was just a wooden puppet. Royal advisor Harriet silently appeared behind Leona. The memory of her beating him until he cried seemed like just yesterday. But now she couldn't sense his spiritual energy movement at all. She had indeed become too complacent. With Harriet's arrival, the two in front united against a common enemy, and his purpose today was to tell Prince Nikar. Tomorrow would be the second prince's birthday celebration. The emperor had decreed that everyone who received an invitation must attend. Nikar expressed strong resistance when he heard this. But when he learned that Leona was also invited, he immediately changed his tune, saying it was wonderful. Early the next morning, Leona wanted to go to the banquet early to check things out. She had specially used sleep magic to put Case to sleep. But unexpectedly she got lost. Worse still, there wasn't a single person nearby to ask for directions. She couldn't use flight magic yet either. If she missed the banquet, she would undoubtedly miss a good opportunity to learn about her opponents. And just when she couldn't find the direction to the banquet, a large area paved with pebbles caught Leona's attention. On it was the esquina pattern made with small stones, and the words "Glory of the Great Empire." It was completely unnecessary. Leona was about to go in and mess around, but found that an alarm barrier had been set up that would ring if touched. Although the structure was complex, it was naturally a piece of cake for Leona. Just a simple operation, and done. Leona showed a mischievous smile. She was going to replace all the small stones inside. If you ask why she would do this, of course it wasn't because she envied that old man being revered. However, just as she was humming a tune leisurely, a cool voice sounded by her ear. "What are you doing?" "I'm making a picture of this bad dragon getting beaten up," Leona blurted out, but quickly realized something was wrong. She turned her head reflexively, and it was actually the Emperor. Looking at the man's cold face, Leona was so nervous she was almost digging into her palms. "Oh, hello?" In the past, whenever she smiled like this, others would cherish her, but the man just stared at her without a word. Even though he hardly released any pressure, she was already sweating profusely. It seemed that in these 3 years he had indeed become stronger, but the way he looked at her hadn't changed. Just like when they first met, he first fixed this discriminating gaze on her, then suddenly raised someone's hand, not caring that she was less than a year old at the time, and forcefully injected magic into her body. He wasn't planning to do something to her again, was he? Fortunately, her worry lasted only a couple of seconds. Harriet's voice came from a distance, and his appearance finally broke this damned silence. Leona had never been so happy to see him before. The young princess's unprecedented active wave made Harriet exclaim in disbelief. The princess actually smiled at me. But quickly he slapped himself. This wasn't the time for such thoughts. "Princess, why are you here? Where is Case?" I snuck out secretly. The cute child's speech wasn't clear. Harriet was thunderstruck. Then someone's large hand suddenly pointed. "What is this?" Not only was Harriet confused, but the person in question was also dumbfounded. What was wrong with this guy? Didn't he remember her at all? She had been thinking about him every day. Harriet explained nervously. "She is your daughter, the 12th princess you sent out for sword selection a long time ago." But the man still had no impression, until the spirit medium Case was mentioned. Only then did he recall. Leona. Finally, he remembered. To get on good terms with this former archenemy, Leona tried her best to act cute and well-behaved. But this man didn't respond to such tactics at all, perhaps because in her previous life she had suffered enough being hunted by him. This time she didn't want to be his enemy. So no matter what, she had to try to make him like her a little. Fortunately, this body was quite cute, judging by how some people fell in love with her at first sight. But despite the little cutie using all her charms, Harriet had already been dazed by her adorableness. But the man still maintained his cold expression. This thoroughly aroused Leona's competitive spirit, but no matter how hard she tried, the man remained unmoved. He even turned and walked away without looking back. This big meanie didn't even offer to take her along, just leaving on his own. Leona had to hurry after him. She didn't know the way to the banquet. But suddenly she stumbled, the child not noticing the stones on the ground, inevitably making close contact with the ground. Her tender knees immediately turned red. In her days as a sorceress, her athletic ability had been world-class, but now just a small fall made her bleed. Seeing this, Harriet quickly came over to pick up the child. But Leona didn't need his hug. "I want Father Emperor to carry me." Leona didn't really hold any hope. But the next moment, the man actually picked her up with one hand. She thought a warm father-daughter moment awaited her. But the man held her like ringing a chicken. "How did you break the barrier?" Her brain completely froze. Her mind raced at lightning speed. She couldn't reveal her identity as a sorceress yet. It seemed she had to use her ultimate move. Fire cute beam. After all, no one would suspect an innocent child, right? "I don't know, I just walked in without doing anything." Hearing this, the man looked doubtful. But Leona, who had been stared at for so long, felt her arms were about to fall off. She sneaked a peek at the man before her. The girl was surprised to see a smile on the man's face for the first time. He then gently put down the little dumpling. "I can't just leave you here unattended, so come with us to the banquet." Meanwhile, at the banquet, just because a maid placed the cutlery 1 centimeter askew, the man was about to strangle her with a ruler. "Didn't I say to arrange everything neatly?" With a thud, she knelt on the ground. It must have been the wind that blew the cutlery askew. "We'll prepare new ones immediately." Although the maids had all knelt in a row, the man had no intention of letting them off. "Your mouth is not for making excuses." Fortunately, Nakar arrived in time. "Let it go, brother. Today is your birthday. On such a good day, why start a bloodbath?" Seeing it was Nakar, the man made no attempt to hide his disgust. He harshly slapped away the hand on his shoulder. But Nakar seemed accustomed to this attitude. He just told the maids to go. "Don't leave." The man's persistence made Nakar increasingly angry. "Father will be here soon. Do you want him to see a bloody scene?" Only when Nakar brought up their father did the second prince finally relent. But watching the maids' backs, his knife-like gaze hadn't diminished at all. Can't you control your temper a bit? Be careful, you might get assassinated one day, Nikar advised kindly. But the second prince didn't care. Don't you think as long as you don't stab me in the back I'll be fine? So you know I want to make a move against you. The two seemed used to this kind of banter, but when the second prince shifted the topic to the young 12th princess, Nikar immediately became unsettled. You madman, why don't I just kill you now? In an instant, crackling lightning magic covered Nikar's entire body. The second prince responded coldly. That depends on whether you have the ability. And the magical power he wielded made the temperature of the entire hall drop to freezing. With the crown prince absent, he had indeed taken control. But Nikar's growth rate was equally impressive. This was a good opportunity to suppress his momentum. Just as he was about to act, father arrived carrying Leona. Seeing the adorable little rabbit, princess, Nikar instantly lost interest in confronting the other. But what surprised him was why father was carrying Leona. Are you planning to kill her yourself? Nikar's strange logic made everyone chuckle. And Harriet's merciless mockery made him gnash his teeth in anger. The second prince respectfully invited father to be seated. To treat all princes and princesses equally, the man roughly tossed the little dumpling aside. But this greatly displeased Leona. Couldn't you be gentler? Seeing that the little dumpling was truly angry, the man quickly tried to coax her. This scene made everyone present widen their eyes. The second prince couldn't understand. What was so special about this 12th princess? That was the father who wouldn't even blink if his own child died before him. Perhaps he should just kill this princess today. After all, father never interfered in succession struggles. And he was well prepared today. Killing one more princess wouldn't make a difference. Seeing Leona staring at the tableware, could she have detected the deadly poison applied to the cutlery? But the poison he procured was colorless and odorless, so rare that a second sample couldn't be found in the entire empire. Little did he know that at this moment the child's eyes revealed only a desire for money. Even the cutlery is made of gold. I wonder how much it would sell for. She grabbed an apple from the table. Just as she was about to show everyone how to eat an apple in 3 bites, she accidentally dropped it. Before the child could regret it, the second prince became agitated. Damn it! She even discovered the poisoned apple? This can't continue. With the second prince's whistle, assassins who had been lying in wait immediately rushed out. Starting with the helpless princess. She's only 3 years old, with no ability to resist. This way, I'll surely earn father's approving gaze. But before the assassin's sword could swing down, the man grabbed the princess into his arms. He had long detected many ambush assassins hidden here. And this was just the struggle among princes and princesses. Originally he thought he wouldn't care who died. But when danger truly befell Leona, he immediately couldn't sit still. The princess doesn't have her sword by her side, so she cannot be drawn into the war. What did this mean? Without Case by her side, she couldn't participate in the battle? What about Nikar? Seeing her most beloved brother in mortal danger, Leona tugged at the man's sleeve like a spoiled child. Papa, please save Nikar. If we don't help, Nikar will really die. That's not allowed, princess. No one can interfere in the succession struggle. But Papa just saved me. Nikar was the second most important figure in building her personal force. He absolutely couldn't die like this. And on Nikar's side, he had already prepared to sacrifice his life. Even at great cost to himself, he had to teach that bastard a lesson. Nikar aimed his light sword at the distant second prince. Before dying, he must leave a hole in his body. But the second prince was surrounded by many soldiers, at his command. Countless magical ice swords swept over, still can't do it. However, just as Nikar closed his eyes, quietly awaiting death's arrival, the magic in Leona's palm had already fully formed. With a bang, the entire hall was directly smashed into a huge pit. Everyone looked at this scene in disbelief. Oops, I used too much force. I had only intended to use a level 1 spell to help Nikar escape, but now I've accidentally revealed my true strength. Why am I going to such lengths for this fool? Nikar excitedly walked up to Leona's face. It must have been you who saved me, Bunny. When did you start using magic, without even telling me? Under the boy's radiant smile was not only gratitude but also genuine happiness for her. I don't know, it just came out by itself. The child's unclear speech made someone behind her burst into laughter. A large hand rested on the little one's head, patting it again and again. The little princess really speaks in an interesting way. Then he coldly glanced at the second prince in the battlefield. Today's matters end here. Let's all go back. A full week had passed since the second prince's birthday banquet. During this time, Lin would constantly remind her. Apparently, when she had secretly slipped out of the palace last time, Lin had searched the entire palace in tears to find her. But this concern came too late. The sorceress, already wounded beyond repair, no longer trusted any humans. The love she received had always been for a purpose. Chen said he loved her only because she had wine-red hair. But after the experiment failed, he cruelly abandoned her. Lakis loved her because she could help him ascend to the throne. So when he no longer needed her, he stabbed her without hesitation. But what reason did Lin have to love her? Perhaps it was only because she was a princess. She probably just didn't want to lose her good job as a royal maid. so there was no need to feel any guilt. After hypnotizing Case as usual, Leona was preparing to sneak out of the palace to play. Since her ability to use magic had been exposed, life hadn't changed much. The only difference was that Nikar was bedridden and couldn't come see her every day. But instead, the second Prince Ibeck would occasionally bring strange gifts. Fortunately, after rejecting him 20 times, he stopped coming. However, a sudden angry shout from behind. Before Leona could react, the back of her head was hit hard. "I called you, didn't you hear me?" The boy glared angrily at the little girl. "I can't believe they say the genius magician who saved Nakar with a fireball is just a little girl. Damn it, that's a fireball spell even I can't use. He was supposed to be the royal family's most powerful fire mage. If the rumors were true, even if he had to get rid of her, he would take back this title." But just as he thought this, he met those extremely cold red eyes, and what Leona revealed was only pure killing intent. The magic in her hand was almost instantly formed. "This ignorant brat, how dare he hit me?" The boy hadn't even reacted before being flung several meters, falling on his bottom. "Get lost, don't bother me." But the always arrogant and domineering 8th Prince had never suffered such humiliation. Today he would use his ultimate move. "Watch how I burn you alive from head to toe." Although he still didn't know what she had just done to him, he was determined to teach this arrogant little girl a lesson. But looking at the low-level magic released by the boy, Leona just raised her hand, and the magic that the boy had condensed directly exploded. "Is it over? It seems you really don't know what true fire is." Dense fire elemental magic instantly surrounded the two of them. "Today I'll show you what a real power gap looks like." The boy looked at the little girl, who was no more than 3 years old, in shock. How could she use such powerful magic? And the pants he had wet out of fear were fully captured by Leona's eyes. She hadn't really intended to kill him, but a familiar aura suddenly coming from the distance made Leona instantly withdraw her released magic. Then, under the boy's astonished gaze, her little fist directly swung at her own face. Daddy, he hit me." After saying this, she deliberately pointed at her cheek that she had punched red. "Daddy, you must help me." Not only was the boy confused, the man also had a puzzled face. Could it be that she doesn't want to reveal her true strength in front of me? But isn't displaying one's power the way to obtain higher status? Or is it, as Harriet said, deliberately acting weak just to get my care? He picked up the little dumpling in front of him. However, when his cold gaze swept over, the 8th Prince immediately became anxious. "Father, I didn't do anything." "It's her," she suddenly. But before he could finish, the man's cold tone had already reached his ears. "I have said before, you can't fight without your sword by your side. You have disobeyed my order." The child's schadenfreude was indeed detestable, but the father's favoritism was even more painful. However, Leona didn't want to let him off so easily. "If you make a mistake, you should be punished." The man immediately understood. "Be more careful in the future. For now, you're confined for a week." The 8th Prince wanted to defend himself, but the man's indifference made him hesitate. After dealing with the 8th Prince, looking at the little dumpling in his arms, the man still asked his question. "Why did you save Nikar? In this cruel royal court, killing each other is already the norm. There has never been a precedent for saving someone. Even the powerful crown prince, once defeated, would only face death. Of course it's because people who belong to me should be protected by me." She wanted to build a force that belonged only to her, and Nikar was part of it. That's why she didn't hesitate to reveal her magic. "Then why do you hide your true strength?" Only then did she realize that he had seen everything, so he was just playing along with her. She doesn't yet have the ability to protect her people, so she has to hide for now. "So where are we going now?" "To the main palace. You need to meet someone." If possible, for some reason, he truly didn't want them to meet. Meanwhile, in the main palace, Harriet looked at the silent man in front of her. "He is the Western Tower Master, Jealous. Princess, don't fall for that handsome face at first sight." Although he could directly prevent it now. As a mage to check Leona's magic power, he's currently the best candidate. And it's said that his current level has already transcended human limits. Why aren't they here yet? The man finally became somewhat impatient. Yes, why don't you go back first?" Outwardly regretful, but inwardly rejoicing. But the next moment, the man smiled slightly. "I think there's no need to go back today." But as soon as Yellow saw Leona, he teleported directly to her face. The man stepped back defensively. "What are you doing?" "Ha, Your Majesty called me over to check the princess's magic power, right? If the princess has exceptional talent, I could take her as my disciple." Upon hearing about being taken as a disciple, Leona showed a face of disgust. "I don't want to. It wouldn't be good if her identity was exposed." Jello shrugged helplessly. "I haven't even said anything yet. I'm just determining if you have what it takes." "What, you're saying I might not be qualified?" "Then I don't need you to check." Jellos thoughtfully stroked his chin. Interesting. Time constraint. Not just Harriet. Even the Emperor, everyone's time was frozen, looking at the smirking man in front of her. "What exactly do you want to do?" "I just want to ask the princess something in private." "Who are you really?" Does this guy know something? But even so, Leona could only play dumb. I am, of course, the youngest, the 12th princess of the royal family. You can't fool me, Jealous's persistence gave Leona a headache. I really don't understand what you're saying. I am Leona, nothing more. Then I'll release the magic now and ask His Majesty directly. How about that? Princess, you'd better think carefully. You should know that even if I do nothing, His Majesty can immediately break this spell. If you end this conversation without shutting my mouth, is that really good for you? Jealous was far more difficult to deal with than the child had imagined. And what she wanted to know most now was how much this man knew. The Hax's empire perfectly inherited Lord Esquina's power, so the imperial family has a common trait. That is, all royal souls have the same color. Except for you, so how old are you really? Seeing Leona only holding up 3 fingers, the man grabbed Leona's wrist. And what amazed her was, Jealous immediately discerned her true age, and even discovered that her soul was locked in this body. Do you need my help? As soon as I find a suitable body, I can immediately rescue your soul. How about working with me? The olive branch the man extended. But now Leona knew that selfless kindness should be viewed with caution. She took the man's outstretched hand. You've indeed made the wisest choice, but the next second, crackling electric sparks made the man's hand bright red. I don't need your help at all. However, compared to the numbness in his left hand, what shocked him more was that this child had directly torn through the time wall he had set. Also, don't be disrespectful to the princess. But Leona's current body couldn't withstand consuming so much magic power. She glared fiercely at the man in front of her. No matter when, he always had a smiling expression, which was truly irritating. So young and not understanding respect for elders, I am actually both old and young. And the emperor, who had recovered, finally realized that Jealous had used a time-stopping spell. Tower Master, what exactly did you do to Leona? A powerful pressure instantly filled the entire room. Yet the other party remained casual. The little dumpling in his arms suffered first. At least check if the child in your arms can withstand it before releasing your power. Fortunately, Harriet reminded him from the side, and he restrained his magic. That was close. Almost died. So why did you use that kind of magic? The man's cold tone revealed only murderous intent. But Jealous responded with a smile. That's the most accurate way to test the princess's magic. Then why does Leona look so pained if you only tested her magic? Because the princess's magic is so powerful, it causes anomalies in her spiritual energy. So she needs continuous practice. What, you're saying my control is poor? What an impolite brat. So I am willing to help the princess. You should know very well how rare an opportunity it is to receive guidance from the Tower Master. However, while the emperor was hesitating, Leona's face was full of rejection. No, absolutely not. I hate this guy, the princess's disgust for him. Harriet naturally supported with both hands. But do you really intend to reject me? Looking at the indifferent Leona, Jealous chuckled, then made a lip movement only she could see. Shall I tell them? Like a little rabbit at his mercy. Fine, Leona changed her mind. I've decided to go with him to study properly. Then I look forward to working with you in the future, princess. Since her ability to use magic had been exposed, Leona could finally practice magic openly, but without time to slack off, making her very tired every day. If not for Lacus's betrayal, she wouldn't have fallen to this state. Damn Lacus, I must take your life within 10 years. Although the latent spiritual power in her body had already reached the 5-star level, due to this body not being fully developed, trying to improve further was somewhat unrealistic. However, the sudden commotion outside the door, Ibeck bringing his handmade cookies, was directly blocked by Case. He just wanted to eat snacks with his sister, not knowing why this woman was so opposed to him. Looking at Ibeck arguing with Case at the door, Leona's little head suddenly had an idea. Isn't this perfect timing? I've been wondering about my training results lately. So fight me, Ibeck. But Ibeck's purpose wasn't to fight at all. He just wanted, before leaving the palace, to let this adorable little dumpling taste the snacks he made himself. So all royal family members over 12 had to leave the palace for training. Just like the crown prince participating in the Northern Monster War, Ibeck was also about to join the war at the western border. And you're still just a 3-year-old child. I don't fight those weaker than me. What did you say? You dare call her weak? Then what if I win? What will you do? That's simply impossible. However, the little dumpling's constant provocation finally aroused Ibeck's determination to fight. If you can win, then I'll grant you one wish. The consistently underestimating second prince would never know what he was about to face. The two came to the training ground. Ibeck had intended to condense freezing magic for a decisive victory. But Leona flashed. Before he could react, his arm had been slashed with a long wound from a karate chop. He hadn't even been touched. But the attack had definitely landed on him. She even knows such rare spatial magic. But this was just the beginning. If you underestimate me because of my age, that would be a big mistake. With just a light kick, the entire training grounds floor was smashed to pieces. Ibeck had to quickly retreat, And this time he finally didn't dare underestimate her. He immediately summoned countless ice crystal spears, his specialty ranged magic. Looking at the attacks coming from all directions, roaring flames suddenly exploded around her. Those incoming ice arrows were almost instantly melted. And seeing Leona's hand-raising motion, the second prince immediately realized things were bad. Although he had predicted Leona's attack, he hadn't expected that he couldn't resist the magic she released. Could it be a 4-star level spell? But so what? He hadn't lost yet. If he could freeze Leona's feet, he would still have a chance to win. Little did he know that his intention had been clearly predicted by Leona. A firewall instantly melted all the surrounding ice mist and disrupted all of Ibek's possibilities for victory. And as long as she flew into the air, his attack magic was nothing to fear. Leona stared at Ibek with a mischievous smile and his already trembling hands. If they continued fighting, would he still have a chance to win? The answer was negative. Yes, he had lost. Then my wish is, become my subordinate. And as Leona's subordinate number 1, the first task she assigned to Ibek was to go to the kingdom of Kale. I want you to inquire about the situation in this country, preferably to get information about Lacus. Is that so? Taking a few steps back unintentionally. So everything was premeditated. You want me to kill the king of Kale, which would doom me as well. I originally thought you were different from the other royals, but in the end, you're the same. Sending him to assassinate the Kale king would undoubtedly be sending him to his death. What? I just want you to gather some information about this country. It's said that Lacus has now revealed his true nature and is constantly squandering national resources. Leona wanted to clarify if this was a facade he created on the surface, while secretly strengthening his power. After all, only by knowing both yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. So you just need to spy secretly, don't act rashly. Oh, so that's it. Even though I'm just a loser, you're so kind to me. I will definitely complete the task well. Make sure you're satisfied. Although she had no idea what he was feeling emotional about, at least she had resolved the most important matter at hand. Later, Leona went all the way to the library, but strangely, there was very little information about the kingdom of Kale in the books. The records only mentioned that it was a country of outlaws. Fortunately, today wasn't completely fruitless. From the publication date of this book, she could deduce that 5 full years had passed since that body died. But after 5 years, why was there so little record about the kingdom of Kale here? It seemed that there was no diplomatic contact between the Empire and the kingdom of Kale. She had originally wanted to use the Empire's power to suppress Lacus. If this plan wasn't feasible, then she would have to resort to force. However, in these 5 years, that bastard Lacus must have grown considerably. He was already a madman obsessed with accumulating magic power, not to mention his title as a 9th-level swordmaster wasn't just for show. To defeat him, she would need to become stronger. But the suddenly appearing Jelos almost scared Leona to death. You madman, didn't I tell you not to suddenly pop up? But the next second, she smelled that suffocating scent. The betrayal of the past flashed like slides in her mind. She could never forget the smell. Even when her heart was pierced, this scent had never left her. Lacus, this was the scent of his wind sword. The magic within her surged instantly. Before Jelos could react, Leona's magic light chain had already fastened around his neck. Before you came here, did you meet a certain bastard? Seeing Leona suddenly attack, Jelos hurriedly made excuses. Indeed, he had met Lacus before coming here, and had been offered conditions he couldn't refuse. And now he had to choose between Lacus and Leona. This is really troublesome. Are you crazy? This doesn't need thinking. Of course choose me. But princess, you're only 3 years old now. No matter how powerful you are, I can't immediately choose you. Besides, I've always had a troubling problem. I'm a person who values money above all else. You really like money. That's extremely easy to handle. I have plenty of this stuff. Leona stood up angrily. Jelos shrugged indifferently. The money I receive might exceed your imagination. But the next second, golden money filled the entire library. Seeing this, Jelos immediately offered his knees. Princess, how about this 200-year-old brother of mine? I will do my utmost to assist you. Looking at the man's flattering manner, Leona was full of pride. You must swear allegiance to me, then all this money is yours. Of course, without question. You should know what I mean. I want you to pledge with all your spiritual power. Hearing this, Jelos immediately objected. Money is important, but for a mage, spiritual power is equivalent to life. What if I offer twice the amount? Please state the content immediately, I'll swear now. This fool then listened carefully. First, you cannot reveal my secret. Cannot tell others about the details of my sole possession. Second, before I truly become emperor, you cannot leave my sight. Must be available whenever called. Finally, you must maintain your relationship with Lacus. She wanted Jelos to become her spy planted beside Lacus. As long as you observe these 3 points, these gold coins are all yours. Although there were still many questions. Using the Tower Master as a spy, perhaps only the princess would do this. Then Jelos released his magic and signed a master-servant contract with Leona, looking at the mark on the back of her hand. Leona finally felt at ease. Now, Let's talk about that bastard Lacus's movements. According to Jealous's description, the kingdom of Kale was indeed planning something, but not against the empire. They were preparing to march south. The empire was located to the east of the kingdom of Kale, so it indeed wouldn't be affected. But why did she feel something was off? Wait, isn't that where the Flame Mountain is? The sorceress's mountain range is indeed there, but so what? It said the sorceress is already dead. The Kale King widely proclaimed that he killed the sorceress. So not just him, now almost everyone knows the news of the sorceress's death. The little dumpling trembled with anger. Lacus, that bastard. When she becomes emperor, she will flatten Kale and completely eliminate Lacus. But speaking of which, an oath taken can't be revoked, right? Leona had a mischievous smile. However, at this time, Jealous still hadn't realized the seriousness of the situation. If it can't be revoked, then it doesn't matter if I say none of this money is mine, right? These are all Askina's money. If you dare use it, Askina won't let you off. But don't worry too much, I'll still pay you a salary every month, about 10 coins. The man's heart sank, as if all his strength had been drained. Well, princess, let's talk about this again. But Leona had already prepared the teleportation magic. Take care, fool. To be deceived by such a small trick. If other mages knew, they would laugh at him for life. It's all because of the stam money, but how does she have Askina's gold coins? Askina has been hidden for nearly 30 years. Could that little girl's past life have some connection with Askina? However, a sudden sound from behind. No matter how friendly the royal family is to you, you can't just wander around like this. What's the problem with that? Really don't understand etiquette. Hearing this, Jealous snorted coldly. You think he doesn't understand etiquette just because he entered the palace? Isn't it because he's alone with Leona? Harriet, whose thoughts were seen through, became embarrassed and angry, pointing at Jealous's nose. So what? Who allowed you to approach our princess casually? How dangerous. His face was full of disbelief. You're saying that I, as the princess's magic teacher, am dangerous. Weren't you specifically invited by us? I'm just curious about the princess. After all, she has great research value for me. I'd like to know what you mean by research value. The emperor appeared silently, causing Jealous's face to change slightly. Before he spoke, he hadn't detected the emperor's aura at all. Pretending to be troubled, he spread his hands. Asking me to tell you for free is a bit too. I can promise you a box of elf gems. Too little, too little. 2 boxes. Then please prepare them by tomorrow. As long as he didn't mention anything about the soul, it shouldn't break his oath. He believes the princess's physical body is descended from dragons. Of course, this is just my personal speculation. Otherwise, she couldn't possibly have so much spiritual power. A 3-year-old child with 5-star level spiritual power is unprecedented across the entire continent. Hearing this, the man was also shocked. It's known that he, who had joined the ranks of transcenders, was just an ordinary person in the royal family, not a dragon descendant. But how can you so easily tell me such important intelligence? Well, of course he couldn't say it was because he needed money. After all, I'm also the princess's teacher now, so we're allies. What a joke. She would never ally with someone who secretly colludes with Kale. I will keep a close eye on you. If you dare to do anything harmful to Leona or endangering the empire, I will not spare your life. After returning to her room, Leona yawned repeatedly. However, the assassin's attack came silently. Oh no. Just when her spiritual power was exhausted. But what she didn't expect was, Lynn eliminated all the danger with just 1 arrow. So the gentle nursemaid who had been accompanying her was actually a Special Forces soldier from the Elan Federation. You mean the Special Forces led by Salute? My goodness, you even know that. How could she not know? That was the human merchant group she had crossed paths with several times, and fighting Salute was completely out of necessity. At that time, Lacus, to expand his territory, had set his greedy eyes on the fertile land of the Elan Federation. Despite Leona's strong opposition, she had said she would absolutely not get involved. But in the end, Lacus still went ahead, because she couldn't bear to watch her most beloved man die on the battlefield. Leona still got involved in the war at the most critical moment, and the participation of this powerful sorceress almost immediately turned the tide. The Elan Federation, to avoid being invaded by Kale, was forced to reach a peace treaty with the current empire. And the first item of the peace agreement was the marriage alliance between Ipera and the king. If not for that magician. Yes. If she hadn't stood in front of Lacus at that time, the Elan Federation wouldn't have become a subordinate country of the empire, Ipera wouldn't have come to the empire, wouldn't have given birth to the emperor's child, and wouldn't have died because of it. Lynn wouldn't have to be sad every day. If Lynn knew that the magician she mentioned was herself, what kind of expression would she have? Looking at the worried Leona. Lynn's eyes were full of pity. Poor child, never experienced any maternal love since birth, although she also missed Lady Ipera and her homeland. Fortunately, on Leona's 5th birthday, the Federation's diplomatic delegation would visit the empire. The Duke will come too at that time. Double-Ejo. What, isn't the Duke? Isn't he the king of the Elan Federation that she wants to eliminate? If he discovers that she is the northern sorceress, and once fought for Kale, then she would truly be doomed. And due to her previous reckless use of magic power, it's now difficult to hide her identity. What should she do? However, just as she was puzzling over this, her small body suddenly floated in the air. The next second she drifted into someone's arms. It seems our little princess is really tired, asking for a hug as soon as we meet. It was clearly you who pulled me over. Glimpsing Jealous behind her strangely. Why is this guy here too? It's because I miss the princess so much. But I'm also very busy. So before the priest arrives here, he should go back. You won't miss me, right? What is this guy babbling about? But what is the priest coming to do? He is coming to give you a blessing. I heard someone say you might have inherited dragon's blood. Turning to look at Jealous, no, princess, I haven't broken my promise. He had expected the princess's anger. But surprisingly, Leona gave him a thumbs up. Well done, Jealous, this way, with the cover of being a dragon descendant. The fact that she is a sorceress will be less likely to be exposed. Princess, your acting is really good. Who told you to use telepathy casually? Do you want to die? I wonder when our princess will truly treat me as a teacher. But speaking of which, have you really inherited dragon power? She had actually thought about this too. A mere human body, born with 5-star level spiritual power. But if she was truly a dragon descendant, then the soul of this body should have been predetermined. She couldn't possibly have entered this body. Anyway, for now, use this title to hide her sorceress identity. Complex matters can be considered later. Looking at Ibeck running over. This proud guy stopped after just a few steps. He had thought there wouldn't be many people coming to see him off today, but didn't expect his most respected father to be among them. Watching Leona and the second prince wave goodbye, the man's face instantly darkened. Really don't understand what this is all about. In an eerily atmospheric journey to the temple, Leona couldn't help but tug at the man's sleeve. What puzzled her was, why was he so different towards her compared to the other princes? That's because you are stronger than all of them. Although that's true, Ibeck is still her subordinate. Hearing this, the man was slightly startled. Is it because you defeated him in that duel so you made him your subordinate? He had never mentioned this. How did he know? The answer was naturally behind her. Then why didn't you just kill Ibeck? Of course it's because he is my family. How can family be killed? As soon as she finished speaking, the people around looked shocked, and she realized she had misspoken. As Leona said, he had indeed killed all his brothers and sisters with his own hands. But from the beginning, he hadn't eradicated them all, and had left a way out for all of them. But in the end, he found that this was completely unnecessary, because his mercy was exchanged only for merciless betrayal. So you too, if you don't want to be betrayed after showing kindness, must always remember. Is he worried about me? Even so, I still don't like killing. Past experiences are like scars that can never be removed. Whenever I think of those children who died because of me, my heart remains unsettled for a long time. So, I don't want to go through that kind of thing again. And I'm not as weak as I appear on the surface. Even if I'm betrayed again, I'm not afraid. Besides, I'll only get stronger. He affectionately patted Leona's little head, but this left Jealous behind her stunned. It seems the Emperor has also been fooled by this little one. Besides being held by him, she didn't do anything. And didn't I tell you not to use telepathy, you idiot? Amid their squabbling, they quickly arrived at their destination. However, upon opening the door, the first person they saw was Case. No wonder she hadn't been seen since morning, so she was here. Hello, Case. The priest seemed to have been waiting impatiently for a long time. You summoned me here, yet you made me wait so long. Stop the nonsense. Let's get started. Looking at the little princess who could barely walk steadily, the man's eyes revealed nothing but contempt. He couldn't believe that this little one was a dragon descendant. If judging only by appearance, he had undoubtedly wasted this trip. However, the king's words made him reconsider this little dumpling. Such a young princess, already strong enough to be acknowledged by the emperor? If that's true, surely His Holiness the Pope would be interested in this intelligence. The moment he touched Leona's little hand, a dazzling holy light enveloped the entire room. But the next second, he realized something was wrong. What is going on? His hand was firmly stuck, and the power he released. Why couldn't he retrieve it? It was Leona who actively let go of his hand. Only then did the priest awkwardly cough twice. It's really strange. To figure out exactly what was happening, the priest took Leona's little hand again. It seems this matter needs to be handled by the high priest. He couldn't estimate the amount of spiritual power within Leona, and the princess is very different from other royals. Normal royals only reveal their true power after awakening, but she doesn't need to. Which means, the princess indeed possesses a dragon's body. Since her identity as a dragon descendant was exposed, nobles had been sending various gifts. Leona also planned to host a banquet at her next birthday. To select a suitable one from these forces wanting to attach themselves to her. Merely being content with the status quo was clearly not enough. She must become even more powerful. Only then could she deal with that bastard Lacus sooner, and achieve her small goal of dominating the continent. However, Nikar's sudden visit told her some very bad news. The crown prince had returned. Bunny, you'd better avoid him if possible. That guy is a complete madman. Once, he beat me badly. It would have been better if he had just killed me. But he locked me up and tortured me like a mouse. Hearing this, Leona's face instantly darkened. Nikar was her person, and it wasn't others' turn to bully him. How infuriating. So let me help you become stronger. Then you can deal with that guy yourself. But when the two little ones arrived at the training ground, Nikar immediately got cold feet. The crown prince is really powerful. He's the Pope's son. Does being the Pope's son make him powerful? Speaking of which, who is the Pope? The Pope is the current religious leader. But so what? Is the Pope more powerful than the Emperor? You are the Emperor's son. Hearing this, Nikar was shocked, as if struck by lightning. Although what Leona said was flawless, he still lacked confidence. Then I'll practice with you until you have confidence. He had heard that the second prince was completely defeated by Leona. Well, let me go eat something first. Looking at Nikar fleeing in panic, she sighed helplessly. Really, so timid at such a young age. Then Leona practiced alone. She needed to quickly transfer her previous life's soul power. As long as no one disturbed her during this process, there would be no danger. And the artifact hidden in the core of her soul was named Red Sea. In her previous confrontation with Eskina, she was even scolded for being despicable. But she herself had no idea what it was. As long as she could win, who cared if it was Red Sea or Blue Sea? Unfortunately, in the end, she still couldn't defeat Eskina. What exactly is this power? Just as Leona was about to reach out to touch it, her left shoulder was directly pierced through. The sudden attack caused her internal spiritual power to instantly become chaotic. And the attacker turned out to be the 8th prince. So people should live more low-key. That way you might live a few more years. Having said that, he didn't hesitate at all. Kill her. A black magic light blade rushed straight towards Leona. Unable to move, Leona took this hit head-on. If not for her spiritual power running wild, this attack would have been nothing to her. But before she could recover, the next attack had already followed. Leona instantly released the power of the Red Sea. Although she didn't know where Case and Nikar had gone, in her current state, she couldn't just sit and wait for death. But if she continued to release spiritual power like this, she would soon lose her life. So come on, let's fight to the death. But before Leona's spiritual power completely went out of control, the 8th prince and the assassin had already collapsed. What's going on? She hadn't done anything yet. And the crown prince, slowly walking from the distance, soon gave her the answer. Hello, Leona. I've always wanted to meet you. Looking at this crown prince she had never met before, the rampaging magic within her still hadn't stabilized. In your current condition, you probably can't handle him alone. If Case were still by my side, you wouldn't be able to run wild here. But hearing this, the crown prince chuckled. Are you referring to these two weaklings behind me? If you chose a spiritualist as your sword, why not equip him with something that could resist holy power? No matter how powerful. A spiritualist cannot withstand the power of light. And that you've lasted this long has exceeded my expectations. Perhaps you don't know how long I've been waiting for someone worthy of me to appear. A bad premonition rose in her heart. Although you're still young, I can wait until you grow up. So Leona, marry me. It seems Nikar was completely right. This person is definitely crazy. Father once said, for the future of humanity, the strong must unite to conceive the next generation. Aren't you curious what would happen if a child inheriting both our powers was born? We could rewrite the history of the entire continent. Is it like this again? Those eyes with the same pure greed as his. But she had heard such sweet talk too many times. And having been betrayed twice was enough. She would not be fooled again. A flaming arrow shot straight towards the crown prince's forehead. What next generation? This generation, you die today. Although she talked big, the current situation was very unfavorable for her. So she had to end this quickly. But when Leona's fire magic surrounded the entire training ground, the crown prince had already been dragged into the air. You coward, come down here. Why be a turtle hiding in its shell? Don't think that because you're in the sky, I have no way to deal with you. In an instant, a huge magic circle appeared above the crown prince's head. This was Leona's all-out attack, mobilizing all the magic in her body. But ultimately, it couldn't escape the law of smoke without fire. I showed mercy to you, but you repeatedly tried to kill me. But the game ends here. Since you're an enemy, I'll eliminate you completely. A huge silver blade floated above the man's head. This was an attack she could not escape no matter what. Damn it, was she underestimating him? Was the tragedy of her previous life about to repeat itself? Although this life had been pretty good, she just hadn't been able to say goodbye to them properly. But the next second, her entire body was enveloped in a warm embrace. Seeing her father descending from the sky, the grievances buried in her heart suddenly erupted. Only lying in the man's arms could she completely remove the disguise she wore. Why did you take so long to come? These bad guys almost beat me to death. Gently rubbing the little one's cheek. You won't be in danger, Leona. You are my daughter. Previously, she had always been called princess. This was the first time called daughter. But while the father and daughter were still being affectionate, The crown prince on the side had already become anxious. This is a succession dispute. Even if you are the emperor, you shouldn't intervene, right? So please put Leona down. But before waiting for the man's answer, the man's attack had already rushed towards him. He really couldn't understand why His Majesty would attack him. In the royal succession dispute, the emperor was never supposed to intervene. The man just gave him a cold glance. He had almost failed to restrain himself from killing him with one move. Stand down. The little princess had finally broken free from time's constraints, finding the origin of all truth. It turned out that everything happening now was not by chance, but her mother, whom she had never met, sacrificed her own life, forcibly dragging her soul into this body, since being suddenly attacked by the crown prince. Leona had clearly realized that she must become stronger earlier, almost dying at the hands of that young boy. How infuriating. But could she really become his daughter? If he discovered her identity as a sorceress, he would surely kill her without hesitation. No matter what, she had to hide her identity. However, what always puzzled her was, where did the original soul of this body go? But the sudden appearance of Jelos. Leona had already become accustomed to his pranks. This bastard, when I was beaten half to death, he was nowhere to be seen, or so don't come looking for me now. He fell to his knees with a thud. Don't be angry, don't be angry. Today I specially went to teach those boys a lesson for you. That's more like it. But the matter of beating that boy, I must do it myself. To find the truth about the original soul of this body, Leona decided to start her investigation from Princess Ipera. And as the personal maid of this foreign princess, Lynn naturally became Leona's first target. But when she asked about her mother, Lynn appeared very flustered. It seemed she still treated her as a child. I know she's passed away, I just want to know if her belongings are still here. Embracing the little dumpling in front of her with pity, if the princess were still alive, she would love you very much. Yes, if the princess were still alive, she would probably really hate the person who stole her child's body. In the evening, Leona took case and quietly went to the dandelion wing. According to Lynn's description, her mother's belongings were stored in this room, gently opening the door. But when she saw the spotless palace, she had a very strange feeling. She had originally thought she would be stopped by a barrier. The diary on the table rustled in the cold evening breeze. With curiosity, Leona opened the diary in her hand. March 2nd, 421. I never thought I would become a mother, it's unbelievable. March 29, 421. Because my stomach hurts so much, I can't eat anything, it's so uncomfortable I want to give up. May 1st, 421, bleeding again, it hurts. May 2nd, 421, it hurts so much, if not for being pregnant, she really wished she didn't have this child. Leona endured her mixed feelings. She could completely understand her mother's desire to give up due to unbearable pain. But even though she could understand, why did she still feel so sad? July 3rd, 421. My body is much better now. Is the child helping me? His Majesty looked at my messy curls and said I looked like a little lion. Perhaps because of this, I have already thought of a name for this unborn child. Let's call her Leona. So her name had been decided long ago. But when they first met, why did he pretend as if he had named her himself? Leona continued to flip through the later content. August 21st, 421. My stomach hurts as if being torn apart, even though the doctor said there was no problem. Why does it still hurt so much? September 1st, 421. I was unconscious for 2 whole days. I wish I could go back to before I was pregnant. October 1st, 421. I found the cause of the pain. The child seems to have died. Who exactly is the sorceress killed at the beginning? This person is me, who has lived for nearly 2,000 years. I don't think anyone in this world would dare to bully me, because with my current strength I could easily become a dominant lord. But the appearance of this man broke my years of tranquility. Tasting love for the first time, I gave him everything, finally helping him ascend to the throne. But he stabbed me in the back at the first opportunity. Fortunately, heaven gave me another chance to start over, letting my soul possess an infant's body. Here, I not only met a brother who cherished me, but also a father who regarded me as his life. His boundless love made me experience the feeling of being cared for the first time. But everything came too late. Already wounded beyond repair, I had decided not to trust any humans again. However, just when I wanted to investigate the truth about possessing this body, I accidentally discovered the diary left by my deceased mother. It turned out that everything happening now was not by chance, but she sacrificed her own life, forcibly releasing black magic to put my soul into this body. It was because of her selfless maternal love that allowed me to experience care I had never had before. After reading the diary left by my mother, I collapsed on the ground, crying bitterly. I was the root of all tragedy. If not for my stubborn insistence in my previous life, she wouldn't be suffering these hardships now. I should be the one she resents. Yet now she says she hopes I can find happiness. In fact, I've always lived very lonely. That feeling even made me want to give up my life at times. Having been lonely and helpless since childhood, naturally I didn't dare to ask for too much. Because of this, I could so readily accept others' betrayal. But now I don't want to be like that anymore. Putting on the cloak my mother made for me by hand. A mother who sacrificed herself to save her child. I still cannot praise your choice. Because your life is equally important. So Mom, I will definitely be happy. Because this is the life you left for me. However, just as I discovered the truth, and was about to head back, I was caught red-handed by my cold father. What are you doing here? Case shielded me behind his back, until seeing that the two looked like they might fight at any moment. I reluctantly walked in front of Case. Hello, Daddy. I sneaked out to see Mom. Seeing Father's angry expression, what surprised me was that no matter how angry he usually got, he never showed such fury. What was it this time? And when he said he would punish my trusted aide because of my wandering, I became anxious at once. Because I'm no longer a sorceress, so I should try to understand human psychology, and why he would be so angry. Now I can roughly guess. Father, you must be worried about me, right? Then I poked his thigh. Finally, using all my charm, I managed to soothe him. And this usually expressionless old father, upon learning that the crown prince was eyeing his precious daughter, finally went crazy. You're saying the crown prince proposed to you? Leona shook her head vigorously. That's not all. He also said he wants to have children with me when I grow up. But before the man could rage first, Case had already rushed out. Proposing to a 3-year-old child was already infuriating enough. He even wanted to have children with the precious princess. Wait for me. I'm going to kill you right now. However, the hurrying Case happened to meet Harriet, who was just passing by. Although I don't know what happened. But as the princess's sword, how can you act alone? Looking at this fool in front of him, should he bring along this cannon fodder? Then Case told him all about the crown prince's intentions. This madman? But compared to Case's recklessness, Harriet suggested a more thoughtful approach. After all, besides the priest, the crown prince also had a powerful dark sorcerer by his side. Even if we go together now, we would just be offering ourselves up for nothing. But how could he let such a perfect cannon fodder slip away? It seems he had to use this trick. Case lightly tapped his forehead. The princess just kissed the place where I was hurt. That means, if I get hurt, will the little princess baby kiss me too? What are you still standing there for? Let's go. And on the other side, the old father. To prevent the little princess from being bullied by the crown prince again, the man took Leona all the way to his treasured vault. Looking at money everywhere and countless rare treasures, Leona's eyes were almost straight. But you can only choose 3 items. What a miser. Diving into the vault full of treasures. First taking a bracelet that could help Case resist holy magic. Then a ring that could teleport instantly. This way, as long as there was enough magic power, she could return to her lair at any time. While secretly admiring the little princess's discerning eye, the man was also very curious about what equipment she would choose for the 3rd item. Would she choose a magic recovery item, or a magic item that could counter the crown prince? However, Leona already had an answer. This was a piece of equipment that could attract attention by distorting time. But what he didn't understand was why choose something with little use. Returning to her room, Leona sank into the soft bed. After a busy night, she felt like her bones were about to fall apart. But just as she was about to take a bath and rest well, the door to the room was banged loudly. And during her drowsiness, she opened the door to find Harriet beaten black and blue. She really didn't understand why he would come to her when injured. Shouldn't he go to a healer? He just collapsed on the ground with a thud. Little princess baby, give me a kiss. Just as she said, if I kiss you aloud. Kay stepped on Harriet's head. Rest well, princess, he's fine. Early the next morning. Because she had walked too much yesterday, she was still tired when getting up. But she still had to finish reading the diary she hadn't completed yesterday. In her nearly 1,000 years of life, she had never heard her mother's name. Would the answer be in this diary? But just as she was about to open the diary, she found she couldn't open it no matter what. Why didn't she notice yesterday that a reading prohibition spell had been placed here? Only the strong can read it. That is to say, her current self hadn't reached the qualification to read it. Damn it, I must become stronger. Just as Leona was thinking about how to quickly become stronger, Jealous's appearance reminded her. Isn't this perfect timing? After all, he was a great mage who had once destroyed half the land. If she could get his guidance, wouldn't that be? So do you have confidence in teaching me well? Of course, my princess. Meanwhile, the old father was deep in thought. He had tolerated the little dumpling's disrespect countless times. To save her life, he even broke the rules by intervening in the succession dispute. Why did he do such a thing? He still couldn't find the answer. To help Leona activate the spiritual power sealed in her soul, Jealous prepared to transfer his spiritual power to Leona for her use. Warm magic continuously flowed into her body. So, this is what Jealous's spiritual power feels like. Intimate yet sharp, gentle yet mixed with coldness. She just needed to slowly absorb it. But the next second, heart-piercing pain swept through Leona's entire body. What's going on? Is it supposed to be like this? Seeing this, Jealous immediately interrupted the spiritual power transmission. It shouldn't hurt under normal circumstances. It might be because this is where you once fought with the crown prince. If we go to a place where you feel safe, this situation shouldn't occur. The place with the most safety, that place is definitely right. Gently beckoning Jelos to come over. She grabbed the spiritual power necklace from his neck. See you later. Before Jelos could react, Leona had already disappeared. Where did the princess go? Yes, I'm also curious where my precious daughter disappeared to. Meanwhile, on a mountain range on the other side of the continent, a magic circle grew increasingly intense. Finally arrived. The place most familiar and safest to her. This was a space that belonged only to her. Here, she should be able to practice properly. Jelos was indeed right. This time it didn't hurt at all. Just slowly absorb his spiritual power. Then tried to activate the red sea sealed in her soul. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. The dormant magic power within her finally broke through to level 4. But while she was happy, how many times had the sun risen? Once, twice, 3 times. Oh no, she had been away from home for 7 whole days. What to do? Not to mention how worried Case and her father were. Lynn would definitely be the first to go crazy. And most of her previously collected treasures had markings. She could only take the gift for Jelos. These are earrings made from the tears of dark elves who never cry. That money-loving guy should like them. As for others who couldn't receive gifts, she could only sincerely apologize to them. With that, she didn't linger any longer, immediately releasing the long-distance teleportation. But when she opened her eyes again, it was a completely unfamiliar space. Could she have set the wrong destination? But that's not right. After all, she was a genius. However, just as Leona was preparing to teleport again, a very familiar voice reached her ears. Hello, little friend. Are you lost? Countless fragments of memory continuously impacted her brain. Could it be Lacus? The girl could never have imagined that her disappearance into thin air would turn the originally aloof, icy emperor into an old man with a face full of stubble in an instant. While the princes and princesses in the palace gathered together, the crown prince still wanted to know why everyone loved Leona limitlessly. As the only puppet master of the royal family, the 6th princess, Shali was also curious about this 12th princess she'd never met. But on the other side, Leona was facing her former mortal enemy. Fortunately, he hadn't recognized her yet, seeing Lacus's palm just a hair's breadth from her face. Jealous' sudden appearance also avoided contact between Lacus and Leona. Princess, are you all right? But before Leona could answer, Lacus on the side directly lost his composure. You're saying this child is a princess? This is the 12th princess of the Haxus Empire. She just got lost while taking a walk. Let's go back quickly, princess. Everyone is waiting for you. The reason for such urgency was that if they were any later, the emperor would launch a war against his magic tower. Even if father is crazy, he shouldn't do such a thing. That always cold-blooded emperor would actually go to war with the magic tower for this child. Then, how can I just let them go? Princess, allow me to reintroduce myself. I am Lacus, the emperor of the Kale Kingdom. This madman actually calling himself emperor. It seems his arrogance needs to be dampened. Not at all. Compared to you, our Jelos is this much more handsome. As the 2 people who were once closest, she naturally knew where to stab the knife where it hurt most. This guy had always been confident in his appearance. Now he must be furious. And she finally understood that the earlier heart palpitations were not because she missed him so much, but because she was eager to kill this man. So let's go quickly, Jelos. I don't want to stay with an ugly monster. But just as Jelos's teleportation magic had just activated, Case and Harriet sensed Leona's aura. The door was pushed open with a bang. Quickly go find her for me, to prevent father from getting angry at her. As soon as Leona returned home, she used her cuteness technique. But why was the atmosphere so tense? And since when did father grow a beard? You'd better explain clearly what happened. I just used the wrong long-distance teleportation magic and accidentally fell into the monster forest. Lifting up the little dumpling in front of him with one hand, falling into the monster forest alone, and still being able to come back alive, as expected of my daughter. After confirming that Leona was really unharmed, he threw her to the ground with one hand. This time your punishment is confinement for a week. Also, grade, set up a barrier within the entire palace, prohibiting anyone from using remote teleportation. From now on, no one is allowed to use magical movement within the palace. When the news came out, the minister in charge of finances immediately couldn't sit still. Are you trying to empty the treasury? And on the other side, Lacus, as Leona had predicted, was indeed furious. The magic tower master's thin face, perhaps only children would like it, actually saying he wasn't as handsome. But what always seemed suspicious to him was, why did that princess have his magic aura on her? And that position was clearly the teleportation magic he set in the Alina space. That magic would bring anyone trying to leave that space back to his side. The 12th princess, huh? It seems he needed to visit the Empire. Since Leona was confined, Abek, who was far away on the battlefield, had someone deliver a letter. And a strange box. Probably because he was very worried after hearing about Leona's disappearance. Although he wanted to return immediately, he didn't do so because he still had the task Leona had assigned to him. According to Leona's instructions, he had successfully infiltrated the Kale Kingdom, and this box was a gift for her. Willing to have someone bring it back from thousands of miles away, just as Leona was curious about what treasure this was. A bloody piece almost made her jump 3 feet high. This madman. Finally enduring until the end of her confinement, Nikar rushed over at the first opportunity. Looking at the dusty and disheveled Nikar, she still felt something was off, but Nikar just stammered that it was from training. Although I don't know what you're up to, make sure not to hurt yourself. Move to tears, Bunny. Bunny actually used magic to heal me. While your magic aura is still in my face, I'm going to go brag to Harriet. Also, later, the 4 sages will go to your palace to guide you in your studies. But she didn't even have enough time to practice magic. Where would she find time to study? Might as well think of a way to mess with him and chase him away. Little did she know that on the other side, the 4 sages were equally displeased. Really don't know what books a 3-year-old child can read. But as soon as they pushed open the door, they saw the child with a terrified expression. Had he frightened her? Little did he know that in the child's eyes, all she saw was his head shining so brightly. Feels like even a fly would slip if it landed on it. What did you say? Faced with Leona's merciless mockery, a bald head is a symbol of sages, don't you know? But I'm just a 3-year-old child, how could I know? The sage, trembling with anger, decided to teach this child a lesson. For this, he specially found books that even adults couldn't understand. But what he didn't expect was that this little dumpling was so learned. Not only did she understand the theory of human good and evil, but she was also familiar with various ancient mythological knowledge. Really don't know why they would send someone like you to teach me. But no matter how learned you are, mocking me for being bald is absolutely intolerable. Since you think you're so smart, how about reading this book? With just one glance, Leona recognized it. This was a forged book from the magic realm, something humans couldn't possibly understand. If you can decipher this book, I'll personally tell His Highness that I don't have the ability to guide the princess. The sage's face was full of confidence. But since it was a bet, something substantial had to be offered. I'll put up 10,000 gold coins. If you can understand this book, I'll give you 10,000 gold coins. Seeing the bald one getting carried away, Leona smiled mischievously. Then it's a deal. Although this book was written in the language of the magic realm, but blood from the magic realm had been injected into her body. How could she not understand the language of the magic realm? Meanwhile, Nikar was being beaten black and blue by the crown prince. Thanks to you, I've been having so much fun these past few days. But since the muscles and bones have been exercised enough, today I'll let you die quickly. However, just as he was about to deliver the killing blow to Nikar, Leona's timely arrival interrupted his attack. A fireball falling from the sky instantly created a huge crater in the ground. So the reason Nikar was injured was because of you. And this time, I absolutely won't let you off easily. Seeing this, the crown prince immediately pulled out his sword. Looking at the magic power emanating from Leona's body, already completely different from before, you're indeed strong, Leona. But this level of attack has no effect on me. The same trick. Do you think I'll fall for it twice? I won't, because this is the first time. The magic in her palm instantly condensed. Another huge fireball fell from the sky. From behind, the scorching heat waves continuously burned his back, and the spatial magic released by Leona had almost sealed off all possibilities for the crown prince to escape. Seeing the crown prince take this hit squarely, his sword immediately ran forward to help, but was directly blocked by Case. This time, you can't go over to help either. A towering magma beast appeared out of nowhere, wearing the bracelet Leona had chosen for him that could resist holy magic. Now Case wasn't afraid of him. Today you can die here too. And the crown prince, already seriously injured, hadn't even recovered, when the second fireball had already followed. After dealing with the crown prince, she kicked him hard in the thigh. Now you know my power. The crown prince, having lost all means, now only wanted to seek death. But of course, Leona wouldn't kill him. Being beaten like this by me this time. You probably won't dare to cause me trouble again, right? So if you don't want to be beaten, from now on, submit to me. Standing up wobbly, submit? You want me to be your subordinate? That's right, exactly. If that's the case. Suddenly Leona felt her entire body lighten. She had already been pulled to the man's face. Then let's get married instead. Meanwhile, on Case's side, the girl's identity as a sorceress had been exposed. As the world's strongest spiritualist, Case's perception of souls naturally far exceeded ordinary people. So, princess, is there something different about the soul inside your body? Nikar woke up from a nightmare. A pair of warm little hands were already against his ears. Looking at the little dumpling in front of him sleepily, not only was he alive, but Leona, are you still alive too? What are you talking about? You were just knocked unconscious. And when his gaze glanced toward a corner of the room, why is he here? Grasping Leona's shoulders in disbelief. Have you already defeated the crown prince? As expected of my sister, however, the overly excited Nikar was met with a little dumpling's most severe scolding. Didn't I tell you before to tell me everything? But about being beaten up, Nikar still couldn't bring himself to lose face. It's not a big deal, we're family. Besides, it's only natural for a master to protect their subordinates. Standing there stunned for a long time, this was the first time he'd heard someone say, "We are family." Unstoppable tears poured down. Thank you, Leona, but are they really family? She always felt something strange in his heart. Seeing this, Case quickly stepped forward. And in her heart there was also a very serious question. But after hesitating for a while, when she finally decided to ask, that idiot Harriet suddenly pushed the door open. I'll definitely find a chance to kill you. It turned out that Harriet had seen Leona's battle with the Crown Prince. That's wonderful, Princess. Leona was already accustomed to such praise. But what seemed strange to her was, why had Father also come? Before her hello daddy could be said, her entire body had already fallen into the man's arms. When I let you choose equipment last time, had you already considered facing the Crown Prince? Of course, in the previous battle, she knew the Crown Prince could escape by distorting space. So she had planned to learn magic that could counter space distortion. Who knew that when she entered the treasury to select equipment, she would be so lucky? After ending a farce, Case finally found an opportunity to be alone with Leona. Princess, what I wanted to ask just now was, is there something different about your soul? Leona's heart jolted violently, not knowing how she had been exposed. Looking at the nervous little princess, please calm down, princess. It turned out that she had accidentally overheard a conversation between Leona and Jelos, so even if the princess is not an ordinary person, she could understand. I'm sorry, Case. I shouldn't have kept it from you. She burst into tears. But please, can you not tell anyone else? I'm afraid that if I tell, I'll be abandoned by everyone. A girl who had been alone since birth. After this man appeared, he cruelly used her as an experimental specimen to achieve his goals. In the end, all the children died in that dark tower. Only she survived as a sorceress. And then after meeting Lekis, she no longer dared to trust any humans. It's your selfless love that made me feel like I had a family for the first time. Embracing the little dumpling in front of her with heartache. Even if you say you're a sorceress, I will love you forever. So please believe that I will always stand by your side. But what about that bastard Jelos? How dare he have the princess's secret all to himself? The sixth princess never expected that she just wanted to see her sister once. And Case had a knife at her neck. As the sword personally chosen by Leona, Case didn't care if she was the sixth princess or the seventh. Anyway, anyone who wants to see our 12th princess is not allowed. Besides, Leona is very busy after all. The visitors ahead of you are this many. Seeing she was about to leave empty-handed, Shali naturally wouldn't give up. Although she was already a grown child, she was throwing a tantrum in front of a 3-year-old. After being forced to entertain all day, Leona dragged her tired body and collapsed on the soft bed. However, regarding the sixth princess's sudden visit today, Lin was very concerned. After all, being in the royal family, everyone coveted the right of succession. So, princess, you must also remain vigilant at all times. Thinking about it this way, the matter is indeed very strange. After all, they had never even met before. But it's okay, Lin. I'm much stronger now. I'll knock them all down. After reassuring Lin, Leona was preparing to go to the library with Case. But just as she stepped out of the room, a certain annoying person had already jumped in front of her face. Can I poke your little face? You're already poking it, aren't you? And behind Harriet was the displeased father emperor, Angelos, hiding from sight. Hello, Daddy, Angelos. It's been a while. Who allowed you to not come see me for so long? Have you been waiting for me all this time? With a face asking to be punched. Simply asking for a beating. Grabbing Jelos's ear, I must beat you up today. Dragging the black and blue Jelos, she waved goodbye to the man. Daddy, I'll come see you in a few days. It seems Leona had something to discuss with the Tower Master alone. But from now on, I must also forbid the Tower Master from entering the palace. The reason Leona sought out Jelos alone was to tell him that her identity had been discovered by Case. So the situation is roughly like this. And Jelos held his forehead with a frustrated look. But what's with that dejected expression? Of course it's because now it's no longer a secret that belongs to just the two of us. You madman. Meanwhile, a certain person was all about action over words. I'll ask you one more time. Why can't the Tower Master be banned from the palace? Early the next morning, Leona's room was already crowded with people. Everyone was arguing fiercely about who would play with Leona first. But at this moment, the little dumpling just wanted to cover her ears. But the Crown Prince's entrance finally made the noisy room instantly quiet. Looking coldly at everyone in the room, I have something to say to Leona alone. All of you disappear. But we were here first. Shali still wanted to reason with the Crown Prince. But in the face of absolute strength, it seems you two have grown quite bold. Hello, Leona. Goodbye, Leona. We'll come again. And as the one defeated by Leona, the Crown Prince didn't care whether the child was willing or not. Have you considered my proposal? Small head with a big question mark. Proposal? What proposal? Of course, the matter of our marriage. After rattling on and on, she slapped the Crown Prince's face with a smack. You madman. How can there be marriage with a 3-year-old child in this world? Then is it not okay if I wait until you grow up? The answer was naturally negative. Is it because I'm not handsome enough? This idiot. A perfect match for that bastard Jealous. I won't like you, so you might as well give up now. But why is that? If it's because of what happened before, I can completely change. I've said I won't marry you, not now, and certainly not in the future. Even if I become emperor, it's still not possible. That's even more impossible, because this throne can only be mine, Leona's. And by then, I'll be so strong that you won't dare even look at me. Leona's arrogance made the crown prince even more obsessed. Then I'll come again next time, and also, be careful of Shali, I don't want to lose you so early. After finally waiting for all the annoying people to leave, Leona had a good sleep, but she had just gotten up. When Lin came to the room in a fluster, Princess. Have you been in your room all day? A random sentence made Leona momentarily confused. Yes, I've been sleeping. That's really strange. Because more than one person has said they saw you today. Maybe they saw wrong. I've been sleeping in my room. Right, Case. However, Case was even more confused. Princess was sleeping. Then who went out with me? It turned out that all this was the sixth princess's scheme. She used her puppet arts to make a toy puppet identical to Leona, controlling it to do a series of offensive behaviors, wanting to make everyone around her leave one by one. Not only did she frighten Harriet, who came to play with her by pretending to be a ghost, but also recklessly lay in Case's arms throwing tantrums, hurting the maid who always cared for her, throwing away the flowers Nakar had personally picked for her. Fortunately, Lin, who had been by Leona's side from the beginning, recognized this as an imposter at a glance. Who are you? How dare you impersonate the princess in front of me? And the person who could do such a thing was only one. That is the sixth Princess Shali. And after Leona learned the truth, although she knew she had never had good intentions, she hadn't expected her methods to be so despicable. How dare she touch my people? She should be prepared to fight me. Meanwhile, on the other side, Shali still regretted about the nursemaid she had always ignored, when suddenly she received a heavy blow to the back of her head. What thing? Who hit me? But just as she turned her head, the magic released by Leona had already covered the entire room, giving her no time to speak. Countless magic missiles bombarded towards her. And this attack almost destroyed all of the sixth princess's puppets. Actually, I can tolerate whatever you do to me. But you shouldn't have touched my people. Because the only one who can treat Harriet and Nakar as they please is me. To kill her sister, the girl resorted to the most despicable means. Even with her hands stained with sin, she didn't regret. Only because in this family of survival of the fittest, only the one who survived to the end could inherit the throne. After being exposed, she was prepared to risk her life. But what Shali didn't know was, her proud dark magic was no match against Leona. If she wanted, she could break free at any time. It's just that the consequences might be a bit serious. Fortunately, Jealous arrived in time, Princess. I kept my promise this time. She slapped Jealous's face with a smack. I've been struggling in the swamp for so long, and you dare say you kept your promise. I abandoned very important matters to rush over immediately. But speaking of which, how do you plan to deal with this thing? Shall I help you clean it up? But before he could finish, his head received a painful hit. You, why did you hit me again? Who told you to always speak so punchably? As for Jealous's timely rescue, Shali was very unconvinced. She still felt that without the Tower Master's help, Leona might have died at her hands. But what she didn't know was that the spell she cast, Leona could break in a minute, but doing so would consume a lot of magic, and might endanger your life. So you should thank me for saving you. Shali naturally wouldn't believe Leona's one-sided words. After all, this was magic left to her by her mother. How could a 3-year-old child so easily? But the next second, with a snap of the girl's fingers, magic identical to before had completely trapped the sixth princess. This low-level magic for the current Leona was simply too easy. I said before, to protect her people you must become strong. So it was all because she was too weak. The reason she couldn't live with her mother was because she didn't have the ability to protect her mother. So did I abandon my mother? No, it's not like that. She just didn't want her mother to be hurt. Fighting for the throne with those children who wanted to become emperor, you had to be prepared to be attacked by them at any time. They would threaten or even kill the ones you love. If it weren't for that, who wouldn't want to live with their mother? Shali, her heart dying, kept sinking. Fortunately, Leona grabbed her little hand in time. Listen to me, Shali. Although I will become emperor, I won't kill anyone. I won't kill your mother either. So if you want to live with your mother, go bring her back. I will guarantee her safety. Shali burst into tears. She's saying she won't kill my mother, even though I'm weak. Then I'll bring her back tomorrow. No, I'll bring her back today. Really, at least you still have a mother. While I have been alone since birth. Damn it. Why am I making myself sound so pitiful? Princess, you're becoming kinder and kinder. Of course, after all, she's technically human now, so I want to live kindly. But Jealous always believed that the worst race in the world was humans. But they're also the most loyal race, aren't they? And because of this, they're easily betrayed. Shut up, let's go quickly. I was about to leave even if you didn't say so. I really have important things to do. Before the Kale King comes, he still has various preparations to make. You mean that bastard Lacus is coming to the Empire? The Emperor Father's jealousy jar was knocked over again. His precious sweetie heart raised at the cost of his life. Yet there were always youngsters trying to steal from him. Since learning that Lacus was coming to the Empire, Leona immediately told her father her request, and at this long-awaited banquet, she finally met again the person she had dreamed of killing. But what she hadn't expected was, Lacus had discovered clues from her at their first meeting, and even suspected that this princess must be Elena's reincarnation, looking at the fake smile of the dead scumbag. Leona's desire to stab him was nearly overflowing the screen. But not yet, although revenge wasn't possible yet, annoying him was necessary. So at the most lively moment of the banquet, Leona loudly repeated the wild words Lacus had said in the Monster Mountain range. As she expected, whispers of mockery arose around that he, Lacus, dared to call himself an emperor. Perhaps the princess misheard. How could I say such things? Again, that familiar feeling. That unpleasant gaze. Could he have recognized her? Past memories made Leona's small body tremble uncontrollably. But this damn scumbag even calmly asked her what was wrong. She burst into tears. Against this kind of person, she was still too green. Throwing herself into the man's arms. Daddy, he's bullying me. Powerful pressure forced him to retreat continuously. The feeling was like falling into an extremely cold ice cave. Let you taste this feeling too. So, Lacus Kale, what business do you have with my daughter? Just greeting the princess. The person I really want to see is your majesty. How arrogant. Then I'd like to hear what business you have with me. To strengthen the relationship between the Kale Kingdom and the Empire. His purpose this time was to arrange a marriage alliance between his child and the 12th princess. She almost spat out her juice. Given the current age, that means. This guy got married immediately after killing her, and even had a child. But before the man could answer, the crown prince and Nikar couldn't sit still. Don't joke. The only one who will marry Leona in the future is me. But this is a matter between two countries, and I'm willing to give you the mining rights to the southern Kuria Mountains. Also, it's best not to release your magic in front of a stronger person. It's actually nullification magic. But the next second, his entire left side was frozen into an ice sculpture. Drawing your sword against my children in front of me. Go back immediately. This is my last mercy to you. And at this moment, Leona just wanted to find Jelos, because only he could resolve the confusion in her heart. When did that bastard Lacus get married? After thinking for a moment, he couldn't quite remember. About 5 years ago probably. Although I wasn't present, it said his wedding was very grand. 5 years? That means it didn't happen after her death. But while she was with him, he already had another woman, so that's why he killed her. Damn scumbag. But even if she used all her strength now, she would hardly be a match for him. She'd have to endure for a few more years. But why does he want his son to marry me so badly? And that look as if he had already seen through my identity. Suddenly thinking of something, the girl said, that guy must have done something in my space. I need to check it out. Jelos, take me to the Monster Mountain range. 2 brothers killing each other. The father doesn't bat an eye. Because in this world of survival of the fittest, only the one who survives to the end deserves to inherit the throne. But this man who had always treated his flesh and blood as worthless grass, after the girl appeared, finally picked up his long-lost humanity. Meanwhile, Leona, to investigate the truth about her exposed identity, was preparing to go to the Monster Mountain range with Jelos. That bastard Lacus must have tampered with something in my space. Although he had long known that Leona contained a powerful soul. But when he learned that Leona's true identity was the Western sorceress, I've actually always wanted to meet you. He must be sick, suddenly talking such nonsense. But Jelos was different this time, not looking like he was joking at all. You've met my brother, haven't you? Had she met him? Leona carefully recalled every person she had met. Could it be that guy? When she was still a sorceress? Countless humans would come to challenge her every day. But one noon in the forest, she met a graceful young man. Who are you? Of course, I'm the one who's come to kill you. The young man attacked her without another word. Until dusk, they ended in a draw. She had never thought she would fight evenly with a human. At that time, the young man had foolishly said, if it were his brother, he could finish her with one hand. But when Leona mentioned this, she found that the seemingly tough Western Tower Master actually had a softness buried deep in his heart. It turned out his brother had always been a genius magician of superior strength. Even the famous Tower Master would personally come to extend an olive branch. And as a brother who had failed the magic exam twice, he naturally envied his brother. Finally, Jelos left his brother to practice alone. After 50 years, he finally reached his ideal level. But just when he thought he could finally be his brother's pride, because of his arrogance, he left his brother forever in that cold cave. He had personally killed his most beloved brother. So he had been searching for magic that could bring the dead back to life. Are you done crying? If you're done, let's start looking, then we'll think of a solution together. Jelos's face reddened with embarrassment. So what exactly are we looking for? Of course it's the tampering Lacus left behind. When she left here, she immediately ran into Lacus. How could there be such a coincidence? Speaking of it this way, could it be something like a summoning spell? Jelos's answer immediately made Leona think of something. This is it. Found it. Now we just need to modify the magic formula here. This way, once the conditions for activating this magic array are met, what will be summoned is uncertain. But what Jelos still couldn't understand was, the outside world rumored that you two were lovers. Why do you want to kill him so badly? Why? That's laughable. When I thought he was kneeling before me to propose, he stabbed my heart with a sword, and after that he immediately married another woman. So this bastard who deserves to die 1,000 times, I must kill him myself. Lakis finally fell for the little girl's trap, because she knew better than anyone. That man filled with ambition would never be content to stop there, as she had expected. After the talks with the emperor broke down, Lakis immediately sought out the priest, and told the pope everything about the sorceress hidden inside Leona, and as the crown prince's biological father. He was naturally willing to help his son eliminate his rival early. But, can you guarantee that what you say is entirely true? Of course. This is a summoning magic array connected to the sorceress's space. If someone uses remote magic teleportation there, they will immediately be teleported to this magic array. And just now, he had sensed Leona entering that space. But what he never expected was, what was teleported wasn't Leona, but a vicious flying dragon, to become stronger as soon as possible. Jelos had been guiding Leona's training these past few days. She must work hard. At the hunting event in a few days, catch a flying dragon to roast for father, and to leave a perfect impression on those nobles. Although the crown prince was still her rival, Shali had also specifically sent her a magic potion to help her win. Soon it was the day of the hunting event. The nobles were all curious about who would win in the end. Some bet on the crown prince winning. After all, in terms of strength, no one could compare with him. Some bet on Nikar winning, knowing that magical beasts feared the power of the sun god the most. But this man put up his entire fortune. The 12th princess. I bet it all on her. All in. And now, sitting in the carriage, the three little ones were discussing what beasts to catch today. The crown prince planned to hunt a flying dragon. Nikar intended to capture a half-beast. Bunny, what are you planning to catch? Of course, whatever I see I'll catch. So you'd better not appear in front of me, otherwise I might attack you as a magical beast. This hunting event was limited to 6 hours, with the winner being the one who obtained the most valuable magic crystal. No wonder the crown prince wanted to catch a flying dragon. Originally, Leona had also planned to catch a flying dragon, just wondering if there were so many in this forest. And the murderous gaze suddenly detected from around. So far under Case's protection, she had never encountered assassins. And this hunting event would undoubtedly be the best opportunity for them to make a move. Which faction would find her first? However, when she entered the depths of the forest, the air around was eerily quiet. Not only were there no assassins, how come there aren't even any magical beasts? Little did she know that 2 priests in the trees were quietly following her, and their purpose was not to assassinate the princess, but to make her gain nothing from this event. This way, the nobles would be completely disappointed in the 12th princess, and the crown prince's power would be more stable. But the next second, a huge iron golem appeared out of nowhere. Everyone retreat first. Leona was already floating in the air, avoiding the iron golem's first wave of attacks, although she didn't know how this golem appeared in the forest. But thanks to you, I was able to flush out the priests hiding in the shadows. As a reward, I'll make your death quick. To deal with this kind of mindless giant, you just need to aim for its head. It couldn't be easier. Meanwhile, the crown prince and Nikar had already captured the magical beast crystals they wanted. But after searching for a long time, they couldn't find Leona. Given her strength, she should have been the first to come out. The two looked at each other. Not good. They immediately found Harriet. Leona, she seems to have disappeared. Could she just be lost? But what if she's really in trouble? Moreover, I just heard the priest say there's a golem in the forest. And the commotion of this argument also caught the emperor's attention. What's going on, all this shouting? Harriet immediately told him that Leona still hadn't left the forest and might be in danger. And this father who valued his daughter above all, once it concerned his daughter's safety, his approach was very simple. Level this forest immediately, then we'll find Leona. Fortunately, Leona appeared in time, seeing everyone's worried faces. Case immediately stepped forward with concern. It turned out she was so late coming out because she had captured too many magical beast crystals. This was also thanks to the item Shali gave her that could attract magical beasts. Leaving aside these cheap ones, this iron golem core should be worth more than a flying dragon, right? And undoubtedly, after winning the hunting event, Leona's fame spread throughout the streets. It's known that even more than 5-level mages together might not be able to destroy an iron golem. But Leona had directly smashed open its head, so the outside world rumored that she was the only one who could shake the emperor's position. But just this is far from enough. She needed to gain everyone's recognition more quickly, before the crown prince fully grew up. With me, this genius magician, by your side, there's nothing to worry about. Her fist swung at the back of Jelos's head, really asking for a beating. And this crystal obtained from killing the iron golem. Leona planned to use it to make some equipment. thanks to that alchemist who once wanted to turn her into a sorceress. That's how she now possessed so many skills. The person who should have been helpless for life. It was because he injected demon blood into her body that she had such a brand new life now. Despite having suffered countless betrayals, Leona now fully believed that she deeply loved everyone by her side. And with Leona's skilled alchemy techniques, a good magic tool was quickly produced. This magic bracelet not only could blend into the surrounding environment, but could also achieve an invisibility effect. Hearing this, Jelos was ecstatic. If I learned this, wouldn't I count money until my hand cramped? What a great opportunity to make a fortune. But Leona wasn't interested at all after all. She had plenty of money. But in the end, she couldn't resist the greedy Jelos. And regarding how to sell this item, Jelos had a very suitable candidate. That is Harriet, known as the Shadow Hand. Initially, Harriet refused to admit it, saying he had nothing to do with the black market, until Jelos completely exposed his dirt. After all, he's someone who could sell even the Empire's national treasures. I wonder if His Majesty knows about this. If that's the case, the princess's matter is my matter. And Harriet gave his valuable advice. He knew a place where such tools would be very popular. That is the Twilight Thieves Guild that often appears in the black market. But at least 5 or 6 more of these bracelets would be needed. This way, not only could they make a fortune, but also use this to gather forces, making those who buy the tools become infatuated with the princess's creations, feeling that only what she makes can satisfy them. Then they will be loyal to me, right, to establish her own force sooner. Leona made 4 magic bracelets in one go, but Case was very concerned about the princess's health. When she learned these tools were to be sold to the Thieves Guild, she immediately gave her opinion. As a former member of the Twilight Guild, she naturally knew what kind of people were inside, although she knew it wasn't good to sell to them. But to protect those around her, she had to do this. The girl never imagined that at her birthday party. While others' gifts were gold and jewels, her brother gave her a human head. It contained the head of the Kale Knight's captain. I cut it very neatly this time. This madman, who would need such a thing? In her previous life, this was a scene she had never dared to touch even in dreams. So her birthday wish was for everyone to be happy for life. Looking at the gifts almost filling the room, what did everyone send? Putting aside those she didn't like, a huge box immediately caught the girl's attention. This was sent by several Marquises together. But when Leona was curious about what was inside the box, a shining golden Leona appeared in front of her. Must melt it down. Besides beautiful jewelry, Nikar also attached a blessing letter. The crown prince's gift was a vial of holy water that could heal injuries, a doll handmade by Lynn, and flowers sent by Case. She must firmly remember this day. However, a sudden cold magic came from behind, apart from father. Only the second Prince Ibeck had such an aura. He had also specially brought Leona a gift. Without thinking, one could guess what his gift was. And Ibeck's special return, besides celebrating Leona's birthday, also brought very good news, that he had found out about the Kale King's whereabouts. It was rumored that Lacus had incurred the Pope's displeasure, seemingly because he summoned a flying dragon in the Grand Temple, burning off all the Pope's beard. Looking at Leona's proud face. Is this your doing too? But even if you didn't do this, Kale would fall sooner or later. Regarding this investigation, I'll tell you after I've clarified it. At night, Leona was sleeping soundly when Jelos visited in the middle of the night, dragging her half-asleep body. Why did you come? Of course I had to come. It's your birthday today. Really, you should have come during the day. Anyway, I'm here to give you a gift. She turned away haughtily. I don't want it. But it's a special good gift. I said, I don't want it, I don't. Haven't you always wanted to go out and train by fighting monsters? This necklace can ignore the barrier set by the royal family. When Leona heard she could finally sneak out of the palace again, she was almost flying with joy. Thank you so much, Jelos. Where to go? Where to go? Of course, the Monster Mountain Range. Under Jelos's lead, Leona immediately took out the potion that could attract magical beasts. But before Jelos could stop her, it seems, Princess, you don't understand the forest at night at all. Small head full of question marks. Is there any difference between night and day? Of course, the magical beasts that appear at night are several times fiercer than during the day. But this was good news for Leona. The ferocious beasts pouncing over were almost instantly burned to a crisp by Leona's rockets. But what shocked Jelos was, isn't normal rocket magic supposed to have only one rocket? How did you do it? Just modify the original formula like this. Then multiply the selection. Leona's explanation once again dropped Jelos's jaw. Can it be modified? What a fool. And you call yourself a tower master, watch carefully. The fireball that should have only appeared once instantly multiplied. Those still struggling magical beasts were burned to nothing. Leona yawned lazily. Let's go back, Jelos. And a few days later, to gain the little princess's favor again, Jelos risked his life to sneak Leona out of the palace. Looking at the carousel in the amusement park, the girl instantly couldn't move, but pouting seemed to have no effect. Money talks. Angelus's main reason for taking Leona out of the palace this time was to have her meet someone. The two came all the way to a dark, secluded alley. Leona, who had been on the streets since childhood, was naturally accustomed to such darkness. Finally arriving at the destination, with a surge of magic from Gelos, a door appeared out of nowhere on the previously empty street. This is where the diviner is. Angelus's purpose this time was to divine the future of the Pope's palace. I'm sorry, I cannot answer this question, but I can divine the princess's future for you. In this divination, Lane not only calculated that Leona's body contained another soul, but also saw through all the secrets buried in her heart. Let's not talk about secrets. Let's talk about what will happen in the future. There are always people like you who don't like to hear me talk about the present. But your tribulation is coming, don't worry though. Although it will take some time, it can be resolved. And after successfully overcoming this challenge, you will also know what true love is. Leona tilted her head in confusion. Doesn't she already know what love is? Is that so? Lane just smiled mysteriously. True love is being able to forgive even if betrayed by the other. The girl was naturally dissatisfied with today's divination result. If I had known, I would have spent more time on the carousel. Even though Gelos had praised the diviner to the skies, Leona didn't intend to believe him. Yes, are you mocking me? How would I dare, my princess? We should go back. It would be bad if someone discovered we sneaked out. Meanwhile, the crown prince, after repeated failures, had suffered the Pope's most severe beating, and after Leona accidentally saw the injuries on his face, he instinctively said the most hurtful words. Of course it's all because of you. If you weren't so strong, I wouldn't be in trouble. If you weren't here, none of this would have happened. After saying this, he unconsciously took a few steps back. I'm sorry, Leona. That's not what I really think. I was just excited But before he could finish, his wrist was grabbed by the girl. Come with me somewhere, taking the battered crown prince all the way to father's chamber. She told him the whole story, angrily putting her hands on her hips. Really, how can adults hit children? Daddy, come and judge. After all, Rodri is your son too. But someone nearby turned away in shame. Because he had always been just His Majesty's cousin, he could never be his son. But the man had never thought this way, Rodri. Why do you think I gave you a name? All these years, why have I been helping you accumulate strength? It's because from the moment you came to my side, you were already my son. Unstoppable tears streamed down his cheeks. He had always envied Nikar and been jealous of Leona. Even so, can I call you father? After receiving the man's affirmation, the grievances buried in his heart suddenly burst forth. He really didn't want to cry at all. It's just that, father, it really hurts here. My good child, you've suffered so much all these years.